January 26, 2014. Google writes a check for $500 million. They're buying DeepMind, a small London-based AI lab that most people have never heard of. But the people who matter, the AI researchers, the tech insiders, the venture capitalists who passed on investing, they all know what just happened. Google just bought the future, and for 8 years, they're going to bury it. Because DeepMind isn't just any AI company, they're the best. Their team includes Demis Hassabis, a chess prodigy turned neuroscientist turned entrepreneur, Shane Legg, one of the world's leading experts on artificial general intelligence, Mustafa Suleyman, a brilliant strategist who understands how to build organizations that can change the world. Together, they've built something extraordinary. An AI lab that's pushing the boundaries of what machines can do. And Google wants them, desperately, because Google knows what's coming. They know AI is going to reshape everything, and they want to own it before anyone else can. But here's what nobody understands in 2014. Google isn't buying DeepMind to unleash it. They're buying it to control it, to make sure it doesn't threaten the most profitable business model in tech history. Because Google makes $160 billion per year from search ads, $160 billion every year from showing you sponsored links when you type a question into a search box. And AI, real AI, conversational AI, AI that can answer your questions directly, threatens every single dollar of that. So Google does something brilliant and cowardly at the same time. They pay $500 million for the world's best AI team, and then they make sure that team never builds anything that could hurt search. They keep DeepMind busy with projects that are impressive, groundbreaking even, but totally safe. Games, scientific research, protein folding, nothing that threatens ads, nothing that threatens the cash machine. And for 8 years, it works. DeepMind stays in London, produces incredible research, wins awards, makes Google look like an AI leader, but they never ship a product that competes with search. Never. And then ChatGPT launches, and everything Google feared becomes real. Let's back up. Who is DeepMind? Before Google bought them, they were a scrappy startup founded in 2010 in London. 3 co-founders with a crazy ambitious mission: solve intelligence and then use it to solve everything else. Not build better ads, not optimize clicks, solve intelligence itself. Build artificial general intelligence, AGI, the kind of AI that can think, learn, reason, and understand the way humans do, and then apply that to climate change, disease, poverty, every major problem humanity faces. It sounds insane, but Demis Hassabis isn't a typical founder. He's a child prodigy, chess master at age 13, finished high school at 16, coded video games as a teenager, including Theme Park, a massive hit in the 90s. Then went to Cambridge, studied computer science, then got a PhD in cognitive neuroscience. He's trying to understand how the human brain works so he can build it artificially. And he's convinced it's possible, not in 100 years, soon. The early work at DeepMind focuses on something called reinforcement learning, teaching AI to learn by trial and error, the way humans do. And in 2013, they achieved something remarkable. They build an AI that can teach itself to play classic Atari games, not by being programmed with the rules, by watching the screen and figuring it out, just like a human kid would. It plays Pong, then Space Invaders, then Breakout. And it doesn't just play, it gets better than humans, way better. It discovers strategies no human ever found, all on its own. This gets attention. Facebook wants to buy DeepMind, offers $400 million, but Hassabis says no, he doesn't trust Facebook with AGI. Then Google calls. Larry Page, Google's co-founder and CEO, is obsessed with AI. He believes it's the future. He offers more money, $500 million, but more importantly, he promises something Facebook can't: independence. DeepMind will stay in London. They'll have their own board. They'll control their own research direction. They won't be absorbed into Google. They'll be partners, equals. Hassabis says yes, and in January 2014, the deal closes. Google owns DeepMind. The world's best AI lab is now part of the company with the world's most money and the world's most data. Everyone assumes this is the beginning of something incredible, an AI revolution. Google plus DeepMind equals the future. But nobody asks the obvious question: What happens when the future threatens the present? Here's what Google doesn't say publicly in 2014. Search is their entire business. Yes, they have YouTube. Yes, they have Android. Yes, they have cloud. But search is the money. $160 billion per year. 80% of Google's revenue comes from ads, and most of those ads come from search. You type a question, Google shows you 10 blue links, and above those links 3 or 4 sponsored results. Ads. Someone paid Google to be at the top, and you click, and Google charges that advertiser, sometimes 50 cents, sometimes $50, depends on the keyword. Car insurance costs a lot. Pizza near me costs less, but it adds up. Billions of searches per day, billions of clicks per year, $160 billion. This business model depends on one thing. You need to click. If Google just gave you the answer directly, you wouldn't click. And if you don't click, they don't make money. So Google has an incentive to not answer your question. They have an incentive to make you click, to show you links, to keep you searching, to keep you scrolling, because every click is money. And the perfect answer, the answer that solves your problem immediately without clicking, that's worth $0 to Google. Now enter AI, real conversational AI, the kind DeepMind is building. Imagine you type, "What's the best laptop for video editing?" And instead of 10 blue links, Google's AI just tells you the MacBook Pro M3 Max. Here's why. Done. Perfect answer. You're happy, but Google just made $0 because you didn't click an ad. You didn't visit a comparison site that pays Google for traffic. You didn't even see an ad. The AI just answered your question, helpfully, instantly, for free. This is the innovator's dilemma. Google's success is the enemy of innovation, because the better the AI gets at answering questions, the worse it is for Google's business model. Every perfect answer is a lost click. Every lost click is lost revenue. And when you're making $160 billion per year, you don't disrupt yourself. You protect what you have, even if it means sitting on the best technology in the world and doing nothing with it. So that's exactly what Google does. They buy DeepMind, they keep them happy, they fund their research, they give them access to infinite computing power, they let them publish papers, win awards, build incredible technology, but they make sure DeepMind never builds a product that competes with search. Never. And DeepMind delivers. In 2016, they build AlphaGo, an AI that learns to play Go, the ancient Chinese board game that's exponentially more complex than chess. Go has more possible positions than atoms in the universe. For decades, AI researchers believed machines couldn't master it. Too complex, too intuitive, too human. But AlphaGo doesn't just learn Go, it becomes the best player in the world. In March 2016, it plays Lee Sedol, one of the greatest Go players alive, and it wins 4 games to 1. The world watches. It's a historic moment. Artificial intelligence has surpassed human intuition in one of humanity's oldest and most complex games. Google stock jumps. The press goes wild. Google's AI beats world champion. The future is here. DeepMind is a hero. But here's what nobody asks. What does this have to do with search? Nothing. It's impressive, it's groundbreaking, it's scientifically important, but it doesn't make Google money. It doesn't improve ads. It's a science project, a very expensive science project, but safe, because a Go-playing AI doesn't threaten $160 billion in ad revenue. Then, in 2018, DeepMind builds AlphaFold, an AI that can predict how proteins fold. This is a massive scientific breakthrough. Protein folding is one of biology's hardest problems. Understanding how proteins fold helps us understand diseases, create new medicines, save lives. AlphaFold solves problems that scientists have stumped for decades. It's nominated for a Nobel Prize. The scientific community celebrates. DeepMind publishes the results freely. Researchers around the world use it. It's genuinely helping humanity. But again, what does this have to do with search? Nothing. It's incredible research, it's world-changing science, but it doesn't make Google money. It doesn't improve ads. It's a science project. Safe, prestigious, harmless to the business model. And Google's fine with that, because as long as DeepMind is solving protein folding, they're not building ChatGPT. This is the pattern. For 8 years, DeepMind produces brilliant research. They publish hundreds of papers. They advance the entire field of AI. They make Google look like a leader. But they never ship a consumer product.
They never build anything that ordinary people can use. They never threaten search. And Google's revenue keeps growing. 160 billion becomes 180 billion, then 200 billion. The ads keep printing money, and DeepMind keeps playing games and folding proteins. Everyone's happy, except the engineers at DeepMind, because they didn't join to play games, they joined to change the world, and slowly they start to realize Google will never let them.
By 2020, tensions are rising inside DeepMind. The researchers can see what's possible. They've built language models. They've built conversational AI. They know they could build something like ChatGPT, something that actually helps people, something that could replace search. But every time they propose it, Google says no. Or more accurately, Google says, let's study it more. Let's make sure it's safe. Let's do more research. Corporate speak for, we're never shipping this. Some engineers leave. They go to OpenAI, to Anthropic, to startups that will actually ship products. Brain drain starts. The best people realize DeepMind is becoming a research lab, not a product company. And they didn't get into AI to write papers. They got into it to change the world. But Google won't let them, because changing the world means threatening search, and search is untouchable. Meanwhile, across the ocean, OpenAI is taking a different path. They're not owned by a company that makes money from ads. They're not protecting a legacy business model. They're free to build whatever works. And in 2020, they released GPT-3, a language model that can write, reason, and converse. It's not perfect, but it's impressive. Developers start building on it. The AI community pays attention, and OpenAI keeps iterating because they have nothing to protect, no cash cow to preserve. They can just build. Google watches. They have better models internally. DeepMind has built Lambda. Google Brain has built Palm. Their technology is arguably superior to GPT-3, but they don't release it. They can't, because a conversational AI that answers questions directly threatens search, so they keep it internal. They do demos for executives, they publish papers, but they don't ship. They can't ship. The innovator's dilemma has them trapped. And then November 2022 arrives, and OpenAI launches ChatGPT, and everything changes. ChatGPT isn't just a research demo. It's a product, a real product that anyone can use. You type a question, it gives you an answer. A good answer, a helpful answer. Not 10 blue links, not ads, just the answer. Exactly what people have wanted from search engines for 20 years. And it's free, and it works. And within a week, 1 million people are using it. Within 2 months, 100 million. It's the fastest growing consumer application in history. And Google panics because ChatGPT is doing exactly what they feared for 8 years. It's giving people direct answers. No clicks, no ads, no revenue for Google. Just helpful AI. And people love it. Students use it for homework. Programmers use it for code. Writers use it for drafts. It's not perfect, it makes mistakes, but it's useful, and it's free, and it's not Google. Suddenly, Google looks slow, old, defensive. The company that owns DeepMind, the world's best AI lab, is getting beaten by a startup, by OpenAI, a non-profit turned for-profit that didn't even exist when Google bought DeepMind. The press asks, where is Google's ChatGPT? Why doesn't Google have this? They've been in AI for years. They bought DeepMind. What have they been doing? Good question. What have they been doing? They've been protecting search. That's what they've been doing. Playing games, folding proteins, publishing papers, anything except building a product that threatens ads. And now they're paying the price, because OpenAI didn't have ads to protect, so they just built what worked. And it turns out what works is answering people's questions directly. Who knew? Google scrambles, emergency meetings, code red. The founders, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, who've been semi-retired, rush back. Sundar Pichai, the CEO, declares a code red internally. They have to respond. They have to ship something, anything. They can't let OpenAI own this space. So they rush. They take their internal model, Bard, and they prepare to launch it. Fast. Too fast. February 6, 2023. Google announces Bard, their answer to ChatGPT. They do a press demo, a live demo, to show the world that Google has AI too, that they're not behind, that they're still leaders.
and the demo fails spectacularly. Bard gives a wrong answer, a factually incorrect answer, about the James Webb Space Telescope, the kind of mistake a high school student wouldn't make. And the press destroys them. Google's AI is wrong. Bard fails in first demo. Google rushes, fails. The next day, Google stock drops. $100 billion in market value, gone in one day because of one wrong answer in one demo. The market's message is clear. Google is behind. They're desperate. They're scared. And their AI isn't ready. 8 years after buying DeepMind. 8 years of having the best researchers in the world. And they're behind a startup. It's humiliating. So what went wrong? How did Google, with infinite money, infinite data, infinite computing power, and the best AI team, lose to OpenAI? The answer is simple. Incentives. Google had every incentive not to disrupt search, and that incentive was worth $160 billion per year. So even though they had the technology, even though they had the talent, they couldn't ship it, because shipping it meant killing their golden goose. And nobody kills a goose that lays $160 billion in golden eggs per year. OpenAI had the opposite incentive structure. They had nothing to protect, no legacy business, no ad revenue, just a mission, build AGI that benefits humanity, and a for-profit structure that needed to make money eventually. So they built what worked, and what worked was answering people's questions directly. Who knew? This is the innovator's dilemma in perfect form. Clayton Christensen wrote about it in the 90s. Successful companies fail not because they're lazy or stupid. They fail because their success prevents them from pursuing disruptive innovation, because disruption threatens their existing business. So they ignore it, or bury it, or acquire it and neutralize it, until a new company, unburdened by success, builds the disruptive technology and takes over the market. Google bought DeepMind to prevent exactly this. They wanted to own the future so it couldn't threaten the present. And for 8 years it worked. DeepMind stayed busy with safe projects. Search kept printing money. Everyone was happy. But they forgot one thing. You can't stop the future by buying it. You can only delay it. And while they were delaying, someone else was building. The irony is painful. Google had everything, the best team, the best technology, the most resources. And they had it first, years before ChatGPT. But they couldn't ship it, wouldn't ship it, because the cost of disrupting themselves was too high. $160 billion per year is a hell of a drug. And like any addict, Google chose the short-term high over long-term survival. They chose to protect the present instead of building the future. And now they're scrambling to catch up to a startup. Let's be clear, Google isn't dead. They're still enormously profitable. Search still makes billions. They'll survive. They'll probably ship a competitive AI eventually. They have the resources. But they've lost something more important than money: momentum, narrative, leadership. For 8 years, they were the AI leader. They owned DeepMind. They had the best researchers, the best publications, the best reputation. And then ChatGPT launched, and within 60 days, OpenAI was the AI leader. Not Google, not DeepMind, OpenAI, a startup that Google could have killed with their lunch money. And here's the lesson. Having the best technology doesn't matter if you don't ship it. Having the best team doesn't matter if you don't let them build. Having infinite resources doesn't matter if you're too scared to disrupt yourself, because someone else will disrupt you. Someone who isn't scared. Someone who has nothing to lose. Someone who's willing to take the risk you're not. Google bought DeepMind for $500 million to own the future of AI, but they were so afraid of losing the present that they buried that future for 8 years. And while they were burying it, someone else was building it. And now, OpenAI is partnered with Microsoft, and Microsoft is integrating ChatGPT into Bing. And Bing is trying to take search market share from Google. The very thing Google was trying to prevent, AI disrupting search, is happening anyway. But instead of Google disrupting Google, it's Microsoft and OpenAI disrupting Google. Because Google was too scared to eat their own lunch, so someone else is eating it for them. DeepMind is still in London, still doing incredible research, still publishing groundbreaking papers. AlphaFold 2 is even better than AlphaFold 1. They're working on climate models, drug discovery, fusion energy. All important, all impressive, but none of it threatens search, and none of it competes with ChatGPT, because that's not what Google wants from DeepMind. Google wants DeepMind to be prestigious, safe, useful for PR, but not disruptive, never disruptive. And that's the tragedy. Google spent $500 million to acquire the team that could have built ChatGPT first. They had 8 years to do it, and they didn't. Not because they couldn't, but because they wouldn't, because their success prevented them from succeeding again, because the present was too profitable to risk for the future. And now the future is here anyway, and it belongs to someone else. This is what happens when you let fear drive strategy, when you protect what you have instead of building what's next, when you value short-term revenue over long-term relevance. You win today and you lose tomorrow. Google is learning this lesson the hard way. They bought the future and then they buried it, and now they're paying the price. The question now is, can they catch up? Can they overcome their own innovator's dilemma and ship products that threaten search? Can they finally unleash DeepMind? Or will they keep playing it safe while OpenAI and others run away with the market? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. Having the best AI lab in the world doesn't matter if you're too scared to let them change the world. And Google just spent 8 years proving it.